What's up, Dodgers Nation? AJ here, at AJ on the guitar on Twitter. I'm recording this on an off night. Thought I'd share a few thoughts. Um, Regarding our recent skid, look, we have won our division every year since 2013, and competitive even the few years before that, during the McCourt, the years we don't speak of, even during some of the McCourt era. And it's easy for us to kind of get a little, I don't know if selfish is the right word, but a little just unused to winning, unused to success, especially after the absurd regular season that we had last year. I mean, like, last year was magic. Like, I still almost on a daily basis go back and rewatch some of like the best of clips. In fact, I'm thinking of doing a reaction video, of sorts to kind of break down some of last year, especially when you compare it to a lot of this year, because that's what everyone seems to be doing. I look on the comments during my live tweets and during our live tweets of games, and a lot of it's pretty negative, which is mostly understandable, but knee-jerk reactions tend to be negative when teams are doing badly, and we tend to sweep the things under the rug that aren't going well when we do win anyway. So like when a guy is struggling pretty like miserably, we sweep it under the rug. But when everybody's kind of doing poorly and we're losing, it's a microcosm. Everything gets kind of put deeper under that microscope. So let me just kind of address a few things regarding the obvious. The elephant in the room is our bullpen, which a lot of people have been calling our bullshit. Ha ha ha, it's not funny anymore. Like, it's obvious. Like, it was a concern before the trade deadline when we were thinking that the front office was going to bring somebody to help Kenley and the rest of the bullpen. And it was a concern now, obviously, because they've really underperformed. And underperformed is the key word, because this is what I'm going to move on to. For my Dave Roberts blamers, for lack of a better expression, you see the expression "fire Dave Roberts" a lot. And again, that's a knee-jerk reaction, usually, unfortunately, from people who kind of can't deal with emotions when things are going poorly. Like, even there's some questionable decisions that Dave has made, but like, who are we to really know if he had done differently that it would have worked out? For example, taking Kike out last night for Bellinger was, by most accounts from the people that I respect, that I think are much more intelligent than me or more knowledgeable, was the pretty smart move. And people were saying, why take out the guy that's already had 2 hits tonight? Well, for one, Kike is one of my favorite Dodgers, but he's not been hitting well before last night. And Cody has. Cody's been hitting, at least for average and on base percentage, pretty well, and he's gotten glimpses of his power back. So there's that aspect of it. And going back to what I was going to shine on about underperforming, at the end of the day, you can blame the coach all you want, but if they're underperforming, they're underperforming. And it's not me trying to be disrespectful to our bullpen. They're all giving it their all. I mean, even Fergie last night blew it, and he's been fired the last few weeks in the new role that he's had. Alexander blowing it, and he's for the most part a lot of the year been pretty good, especially about keeping the ball in the ballpark. Maeda is usually absolute fire out of the bullpen. In fact, I was excited and ready for him to go back in the bullpen. And, he had a rough outing with the bullpen too. And so it comes down to underperforming. Now, whether you want to get on the soapbox and say that they need to be yelled at, if you're that kind of parent, that's fine. I think that they feel guilty enough at this level of professionalism that we don't have to do that. But at the end of the day, we just have to play better. They have to play better. They know this. We don't need to remind them. And I believe that they will. Kenley, it looks a little more positive that he might actually come back. We don't know that for sure. The heart is nothing to trifle with. And so I'm going to move to the offense now. Sabermetrics, funny enough, is not an exact science, but you'll see patterns in a lot of teams that are built very heavily on modern analytics and sabermetrics. Like, the Dodgers are not a specifically contact type team. They are a power team that goes through these huge valleys and peaks, and right now we're going through a peak. And again, the reactionary comments that I see are, why don't we, try to bunt over or, play small ball and swing for contact? Well, we have been. They've been sending a lot more runners to steal, which is another topic in and of itself that Dave's been doing. But we have been swinging for contact, and it's been doing exactly what you'd expect. It's a lot of low BABIP, low batting average on balls in play, grounding into a lot more double plays, flying out. But that's just the nature of the kind of team that we have built right now. And so beyond like the valleys of analytical teams, we also have the fact that there's just a couple guys in a funk. Matt Kemp is on the ending side of his career. So he looks tired and worn. And if you look at his stats in Atlanta last year, that's exactly what happened. He, got tired at the end of the year and he underperformed, or at least performed at a much lower level than his first half. I think most Dodger fans knew that the level of performance that we got from him in the first half was not going to stay, because that's ridiculous, especially at his age. So there's that. People have been talking about the disappearance of Max Muncy. Who was he before this thing that we got from him? We didn't know who he was. He was nobody. We got 23 or 4 first half home runs from a guy that we picked up for nothing from the A's. So for him to have a regression to the mean in the second half is not surprising. It shouldn't be. And it shouldn't be something that we get our pitchforks on him for. I mean, come on. The guy's performed way out of his level, above his ceiling. So whether or not that levels out and he performs, okay for the last few months of the season is yet to be seen. Machado, people were talking about his slump, and yeah, he wasn't on fire for a while, but he was still hitting pretty good. He was just hitting, a lot of singles, doubles that didn't amount to anything because we haven't been driving in runs and there weren't people on base for him to drive in. So I think most people know that, but I did see a few of those comments going around. Justin Turner's obviously hitting a lot more like the Turner that we know from last year, so that's coming around. It's all about the guys in the order after and before. And so that's where I move to this last part where I say, sure, I don't know if criticism is the right word, second guessing, Monday morning quarterbacking, if you will, about the consistency of the lineups. And sometimes that, I know a lot of the guys that I talk to on Dodger Nation, we do have concerns with that. Batting Kike fourth, for one thing, when he's been below or near the Mendoza line. Shuffling the batting order a lot, which I never used to think was a big deal, but after hearing some good arguments from people, that can be a little inconsistent and shattering to the cohesion of a lineup. And frankly, we've had a lot of bad luck. I haven't looked specifically at the BABIP numbers, but to the eye test, I would guess that we've had a lot of hard hit balls that have been caught. A lot of soft hit balls that sometimes would find holes. We're not finding holes right now. They're not getting into holes. Very poor choice of words, AJ. So there's that. I don't know if the front office gets a non-tendered piece for the bullpen. I don't necessarily know that we need one. That's probably going to be very controversial to some people, but getting Maeda comfortably back in the pen, Stripling comfortably back in the pen. We're going to get Jansen back, obviously, we hope. And if that's the case, I think that we do have a solid bullpen. We just haven't had those pieces there because we've had a clown car of injuries to our offensive and especially our pitching core this year. So that's really the credit that we have to give to the front office and Dave Roberts, is that we've had an absurd amount of injuries. Do you guys even remember that we lost Corey Seager, our best hitter? And yes, statistically, for a year and a half, he has been our best hitter. From a WAR perspective and from an ops perspective, he's pretty much been our best hitter. So I don't know why people tried to argue with me on that one. But we lost our best hitter, and we're still competitive. We only lost first place in this little 5-game skid that we had. So I think everyone needs to put the pin back in the grenade. And I think everyone needs to take a deep breath. Believe me, I get frustrated when we lose. I know a couple people who are way way more patient and positive on their Twitter posts than I am. But, to say burn the ships and burn the bridges and to fire Dave Roberts, to fire Turner Ward, that's reactionary junk. That's the kind of thing that you say in the heat of an argument to a loved one that you shouldn't. Because it's silly. I'm sorry. If you're going to get angry at me, that's fine, but it's silly. Because we're still in the race. Despite the massive amounts of injuries. I know a lot of teams have injuries, but we've had pretty significant detrimental injuries to our core. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share. Just kind of a put the pin back in the grenade, positive, uplifting things to share, because I think that we're going to get better. I think our better part of our second half is still yet to come, and I think we're going to be back in that first place race, or back in first place pretty soon. So anyway, this is AJ on the guitar on Twitter, okay? Thanks, guys.